Alright, what's up YouTube? My name is NachoMiga97, here to bring you some Dead by Daylight Survivor gameplay. Now this video, I'm going to be going over my favorite Survivor perks and the setup that I typically run with when I'm playing a Survivor. Now, this video is requested by a subscriber. I will say that I am not a Survivor main, even though my levels for my Survivors, you see I'm already about to get my Ace to Prestige 2. Whereas my highest level killer is the Doctor. He's Prestige 1, level 34, I believe. But the reason why is because I've been trying a lot of different killers. I don't usually play around with Survivors too much. I just get the perks that I want from them. And then, like right now, I'm trying to get Kate leveled up. I want to get Fang next, then Nia and Meg, excuse me. But, yeah, I really don't want any of Jake's perks. I might get Laurie leveled up so I can get Decisive, but I think they're about to nerf it. Maybe Fang for Lithe, for a gimmick build that I want to try using Lithe and Dance With Me, which is a Kate perk. Don't really want any of Quentin's or Detective Tab's perks. To be honest, Ace doesn't really have any good perks. I just play as him because I like his style. I love his smile, you know. That's the most important thing you need to understand, is when you're playing as a Survivor, there's no difference between them all. If I'm running, say I'm running Self-Care, Decisive Strike, Dead Hard, and I don't know, fucking Bond. Okay, say that I'm running those 4 perks on Ace, and I'm bringing in a flashlight with no add-ons. It's gonna work the exact same way as if I brought those 4 perks in on Meg with a flashlight with no add-ons. The Survivors don't differ at all. There's no difference. They don't have any different speed or anything like that. Some of them are louder than others, which that's something you need to watch for. Ace breathes kind of heavy whenever he's hurt, so there's that. Some of them are a little bit more quiet, but it's all cosmetic at the end of the day. It's just a matter of who you want to play as. You know, do you like the way that Ace looks? Do you want to, carry that kind of look into your game? Or would you rather play as Meg, Or maybe you like the way that Nia looks? It's all up to you. But whereas with killers, if you're running Hex Ruin, Overcharge, Pop Goes the Weasel, and Huntress's Lullaby, then you're a fucking douchebag, because that's a lot of generator perks. But it's gonna be completely different if you use that perk setup on Michael than it would, say, if you were using it on the Hag, because those are 2 completely different killers. And the Hag, it might work better or worse for her. That perk setup might work better or worse for her, because she plays kind of defensive. She needs to be near her traps, depending on what kind of add-on she's running. Whereas Michael, he's great at slugging. He doesn't need, he doesn't have any transportation, but, he has a lot of kill potential and a hell of a lot of crowd control. So it's like, those are things that you need to be thinking about when you're playing as killer. But when you're playing as Survivor, it's completely different. Whatever perk setup works for you is going to work for you on any Survivor. So for me, I run Self-Care. I have to have Self-Care. That's my #1 crutch perk. I really like Dead Hard. I prefer using it than any of the other exhaustion perks. If I had to choose another exhaustion perk to use, it might be Balanced Landing. I don't think I would go with Sprint Burst, although a lot of people really love Sprint Burst. It's just I'm not that good with it. Doesn't really fit my playstyle. And then I run Borrowed Time, because it's really good in dire situations. If the killer is camping and you need to save that person off the hook, then Borrowed Time is there to help you with that. Or if it's like the last couple of people left and you're just trying to, get some points in, that's another really good point I should make. When you're playing as Survivor, okay, so the killer, you're not going to pip as killer. You're not going to get a lot of points as killer unless you kill. Whereas the Survivor, you can do perfectly fine, get a decent amount of points, and pip without surviving. You can absolutely 100% pip without surviving. You don't need to escape as Survivor. It is the killer's job to kill. all you need to do is be altruistic, get some objectives done, and then maybe give the killer a couple of good chases before you die. And that's my playstyle. I hardly ever make it out alive. I just try to get as much as I can done while I'm there, and if I make it out, if I do end up making it out, then that's just bonus points at that point, basically. But borrowed time is a good perk. It helps out in a lot of situations. You probably know what it does, but if you don't, basically what happens is, if you're in the terror radius of the killer and you unhook a survivor, then they get a little grace period where they can be hit, and if they're hit, they won't be put straight into the dying state. They'll get a little timer, a little bleed out timer kind of thing, that'll they can run around and try to escape the killer, and then they fall over. Now, usually what's going to happen is the killer will just follow them, but other times the killer will follow you instead, and they'll get a little pissed off. So what you want to do is, if you unhook the survivor with borrowed time, and the killer comes to them, you want to try to take a hit for that survivor, because then, even if the killer catches up to them and hits them, they're still going to get that grace period, and it's just going to buy you more time, which is exactly what the perk is called, borrowed time, right? Now, one thing, and it's kind of underhanded, and this is basically why I use this perk, because it's guaranteeing me the points. This is the main reason why I use this perk, because at the end of the day, it's not always about helping each other out. Now, that's a great thing to do, and since I play a lot of SWF with my friends, whenever I play, I always try my best to keep my friends alive, and borrowed time can certainly help you keep your friends alive. But other times, it's more about me making sure that I get the points, and what borrowed time does. So for those of you who don't understand how the altruism and the benevolence system works for the emblem system for pipping and getting points, basically the way it works is, if I'm not mistaken, you start out with a bronze in benevolent. So on your emblems for pipping, you start out with a bronze in benevolence, and then for every hook savior, for every what do you call it, hook rescue you get, you go up an emblem. And then performing other actions like co-op, or not co-op actions, but heal actions, will give you some points to help you get there if you're not getting hook rescues. But you want the hook rescues. Those will move you up a whole emblem, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the way it works is, once you unhook them, you have 10 seconds. You have to keep them alive for 10 seconds. If they go down within 10 seconds, which is usually what happens when you farm people off the hook without borrowed time, or if you're not there to take the hit for them with borrowed time, what'll happen is, if they go down within that 10 seconds, you lose points in benevolence. You actually lose points. So say that you start in with a bronze, and you take someone off the hook one time that game and they get down immediately, then you're not going to get any emblem in benevolence. You're going to get no emblem there. The only way you're going to get iridescent is to get 3 hook rescues or do a lot of healing. I'm pretty sure healing counts, but that's kind of why I use borrowed time. So that way it guarantees me that 10 seconds. There's, as long as I unhook them in the killer's terror radius and then chase them around for 10 seconds, make sure that they're safe, take a hit if I have to, and then leave, then they're going to be on the ground for more than, they're going to be up and running for more than 10 seconds, and I'm guaranteed those points. So that's why I use it. One other thing I want to talk about really quick, a lot of people don't understand that it has to be in the killer's terror radius, or otherwise borrowed time will not work. I see a lot of people will have borrowed time, and they'll always wonder why it doesn't work on a killer like the Wraith, or on Michael, or sometimes on Freddy, I think. I don't think he has a terror radius if you're not asleep. But what's the other one? The pig, when she's crouched. You see, they don't have a terror radius, or at least they have a very small terror radius. And the Wraith, for example, can be face camping you while he's cloaked, and if someone comes up and rescues you with borrowed time, it's not gonna matter. You don't get the borrowed time effect because the Wraith is cloaked and he has no terror radius when cloaked. So all he has to do is uncloak and hit you, and you're on the ground. So you need to watch out for that. Make sure that you can hear the killer's heartbeat before you go for that borrowed time save. Otherwise, you're basically just farming that person, and that's not good. That's going to lose you points, and it's going to completely cuck them, and you're giving them less of a chance. And The other perk that I'm running is small game. Now, I'd rather have a lot of perks, but I don't have I don't have the best perk selection. Like I said, Ace's perks are not very good, in my opinion. There's nothing that helps you out in the chase. That's the thing that's most important to me, is what helps you out in the chase. That's why I have Dead Hard and Self-Care. Can't really use that in chase per se, but I know I'm gonna get hit, and I'm not always gonna have the luxury of having a survivor heal me. So why bring med kits and hope that they don't have Franklin's, or hope that I don't need to heal more than twice or once, depending on the med kit, when I could just bring self-care. Sometimes I'll usually actually just run botany right here. But here lately I've been trying out small game because a lot of killers bring Hex Ruin, and the totem hunting can get really tedious without small game. So I just go ahead and bring it nowadays. But yeah. Now let's talk about items. All of these perks are completely subjective. Whatever perk setup works best for you, that's what you should run. With my playstyle, I go into a game expecting to die and just try to get as many points as I can. So if I see someone go on the hook, I try my best to get them off the hook, be it in front of the killer or when the killer leaves to go chase someone else. I try to get at least 2 gens done, cleanse any totems that I can find along the way, and then if I'm lucky enough to escape, then I escape. Otherwise, I usually play the role of the guy who chases the killer around so that other people can get the generators done. Even though that really works for me, if you have a really good SWF, that's perfect. You know, there's so many different play styles as Survivor. You can be super immersed or play, you know, really memey. You can be extremely toxic. It doesn't matter what you do. As long as you're having fun, don't let anyone tell you how to play your game, okay? And use whatever perk setup works best for you. If you want to run a Styptic agent with Dead Hard and have Decisive Strike and just all of these other crutch perks and stuff like that, then go for it. You know, I have 2 really strong crutch perks, and then if you want to call Borrowed Time a crutch perk too, then that's up to you. But this is the setup that I typically run, these 3 perks, and then like I said, small game is just kind of there right now. But basically what I want to say is just, like I said, use the perk setup that applies best to your playstyle and just have fun with it. Experiment, try new things, see what each perk does. Don't think too bad about perks when you first read them. Go ahead and try them out just to see how bad they are, because you might be surprised. I used to think that small game was a shit perk. I used to think there was no reason for it until I started realizing that damn near every game I get, someone has Hex Ruin or Huntress's Lullaby, and I really need small game. Alright guys, so now we're in here with the items. Now, I'm going to give a little brief summary on all the items. I'm sure you guys probably already know what most of these do, but there's one item in particular that I want to kind of bring to light. I see it get neglected a lot. But let's just go ahead and summarize these items real quick. So, you have toolbox items, right? You have those. Everyone knows what those do. They allow you to sabotage hooks, but they also increase the speed at which you repair generators. Now, a lot of people will bring these, and they use a brand new part. With version 2.1 of the game, the brand new parts have been nerfed. You can no longer use a brand new part to pop a gen all the way up to 100. You can only, if you land all the great skill checks, the generator will only be progressed by the brand new part for a total of 25%. If you land all the good skill checks, it'll be progressed to a total of 15%. So if you were to brand new part a generator to full, you would need to have 4 survivors with brand new parts landing all great skill checks in order to get that generator to full. So I think this is a great change. I remember playing as killer and getting frustrated with, you know, 2 survivors and an SWF would bring in a brand new part, and by the time that I got 1 chase complete, they'd already have 2 generators done, and this is within the first minute of the game, and that gets really frustrating. So I'm glad that they did something about that after all this time. I know that the survivor mains are kind of iffy about it, but honestly it was a change that needed to happen, because having an add-on like that just speeds up the progress of the game so much was kind of bullshit. And I know that there's a lot of add-ons that certain killers can bring that does the same exact thing, such as the iridescent heads on the Huntress, or tombstone pieces for Mike, the fragrant tuft of hair, things like that. But let's just be real, guys. Killers have had the shittier end of the stick for the longest time of this game now, so it's okay that this is one thing that's happened to survivors. It's really not that big of a deal. But yeah, toolboxes repair gens faster and unlock the sabotage action. That's basically it. Let's move on to first aid kits. They allow you to heal others faster and heal yourself if you don't have self-care. Now, whenever I start first progressing a survivor, I always have to have first aid kits. What I'll actually do, to be honest with you, is I'll just dump points into them until I get at least like 3 or 4 first aid kits. Unless I'm lucky enough to get self-care on them early on. But I'll just, if I have to play as that survivor, I'm going to use a first aid kit until I unlock self-care. I absolutely refuse to play as a survivor who can't heal themselves, be it a first aid kit or self-care. If I have self-care, I rarely ever use first aids, which is why I still have a couple left on him. But even with self-care, they're not that bad, because the self-care, what it also does is if you're using an item to heal yourself, it's going to heal you faster. So, you know, self-care in a first aid kit still isn't bad. Also, botany in a first aid kit still isn't bad, because it'll actually help preserve the first aid kit for longer and also help it go even faster. So, botany, self-care, and a first aid kit, that's a great little build if you're trying to go for like a medic kind of survivor build. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, that's basically what first aids do. Let's move on to flashlights. So flashlights can blind the killer if you shine it directly in their face. You can also use it to save a survivor who's recently been picked up. Now again, with version 2.1 of Dead by Daylight, the killer pickup time for a dropped survivor has been reduced from 4.5 seconds to 3 seconds. So landing a flashlight save on a survivor who's been picked up off the ground is devastatingly more difficult than it used to be. And for the longer part of this game, survivors have pretty much had the timing nailed down in their head. We've pretty much had it locked in. We knew the timing, we knew how to do the flashlight saves and everything like that. But now it's changed. I don't think it's impossible. I think I've seen people still land them, but it's a little bit harder now. Another thing that you can do with flashlights is when you're playing against the hag, if you find her traps, you can shine the flashlight on her hag traps and it will destroy them. If you're playing against the wraith and he's cloaked, you can flash burn, I forget what it's called, light burn or flash burn, something like that. But you shine your flashlight on the wraith if you can see his outline, and it will reveal him, and if I'm not mistaken, it'll also stun him. And then one other thing that you can do with flashlights, I'm not sure if this has been nerfed or not. I think this has gotten patched, but I know that back in the day, if the nurse was trying to blink, you could shine the flashlight on her when she goes for, when she pulls her hand up, when she does the action that pulls her hand up as if she's about to blink, you could shine your flashlight at her and it would stun her and not allow her to blink. Now, I think that's been patched, but I could be wrong. And then, before I get into keys, let's also talk about the maps. Now, what the maps do is it allows you to walk around in anything that you could see, be it a totem, a generator, the exit gates, depending on if you have add-ons. If you have an add-on that allows you to track the hatch, you can track the hatch. I think they allow you to track the killer's traps if you're playing against Trapper. There's so many things, hooks, that the map will track. And basically what happens is you walk around with the map, and anytime you get near something and you look at it, it will track it on the map, and then when you pull it up, it will show you the aura of it within a range. But the main reason why you would use a map is so that you can get a lot of XP using a map, because it gives you a shit ton of points. So it's mainly a blood point item. It's absolutely great if you're just trying to get a lot of blood points quickly. And there's some other things that you can do with the map, but I don't have one, so I'm not going to talk about those right now. But let's move on to the keys. Now this is my little neglected item that I was talking about, is the broken key. Now I want to go over the 3 different types of keys really quick. There's the dull key. there's the skeleton key, and then there's the broken key. Now, the broken key can only read auras. That's the whole purpose of the broken key. And I think there's an add-on that makes it able to open black locks. I could be wrong, but that's mainly why you would use a broken key, is just to read auras, okay? The dull key, it can be used to read auras, but it only has 5 seconds, which is completely pointless, to be honest with you. There's no reason why you would use it. The dull key should mainly be just used to open the black lock, because that's what makes this key so special. And then you have the skeleton key, which can do both. It can read auras, it has a much longer time on it than the broken or dull key, and it can also open the black lock. So it's like you don't need to put anything special on it to be able to do what the key can do. Now, I see a lot of people really neglecting the broken key. Now, I'm not here to say that the broken key is the best item in the game. It's trash. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is trash. Much better to use a toolbox or a med kit. But if you've got it laying around, then why not go and find one of those blood ambers or one of those gold tokens that you've collected through your blood web, because it always throws you useless shit that you don't want. Why not throw on one of those blood ambers, throw on these prayer beads? So now what you can do is you can track the killer within that 32-meter range for a total of 25 seconds. So that's pretty damn good. Now, whenever you go to use your mind channel effect of the key, it's going to take a little bit of time to charge up before you can actually read the aura, and the time that it takes to charge up does count for the key's amount of time that you can use it. So having the prayer beads, or at least the prayer rope, which adds 10 seconds, is pretty good. If you're not using the blood amber, you could also use a gold token, which would reveal the survivor's auras within a 48-meter range, or you could use the eroded token, which reveals the survivor's auras within a 24-meter range. So like I said, it's just there to track auras. Now, if you don't have bond and you want to be able to see where your survivors are, where your fellow survivors are, yeah, go ahead and run a gold token. If you want to run blood amber so that way you can see the killer, go for it. There's also add-ons, if I'm not mistaken, that increase the range at which the key's mind channel ability can read auras. Now, another thing you could do is put on a gold token and a blood amber. Now, me personally, a lot of people bring on the milky glass and the weaved ring whenever they throw on a skeleton key, because that would mean that they can open the black lock without losing it, or if they die, they don't lose their skeleton key. I would much prefer to put those on the dull key, because the dull key is pretty much only good for opening the black lock. The skeleton key can be used to open the black lock or read auras. So what I would actually do is put the blood amber and the gold token on a skeleton key, so that way if I have a skeleton key, I can open the black lock, I can read survivor's auras and read the killer's aura. Now that's pretty damn powerful when you think about it. And then you can save your milky glass and weaved ring for your dull key, because that's pretty much the only thing the dull key is used for. Now the last thing that I want to mention about items for survivors, and it's just another thing that gives the survivors yet again another small edge over the killer, is that if you're a good survivor and you manage to get away easily and always escape, or at least escape somewhat consistently, then you actually have the ability to keep your items upon your escape. So whereas the killer is constantly doomed no matter what happens, it doesn't matter if you 4-man as killer, it doesn't matter what you do, how well you play, if you don't bring a black ward, you're losing your add-ons, and that's just the way it is with killer. Now with survivors, you don't need to bring a white ward to protect your items. If you manage to leave, if you manage to escape, you get to keep your item and both of its add-ons. So one other thing that I wanted to mention, guys, before getting into this video is what a good survivor for starting out is. Now, me personally, if I were just trying to get the hang of playing the game and I wanted a survivor who was good to survive with and had some decent perks right off the get-go, I would actually go with Claudette. And the reason why is, even though a lot of other survivors have really good perks, Claudette gives you self-care, which is a really good perk, and it's an absolute must in this game, in my opinion. Her other 2 perks aren't bad either. She's one of the few survivors in this game that, in my opinion, and again, this is completely subjective, but in my opinion, her 3 perks are all decent at best. Like, you can't say that Empathy's not a decent perk. You can't say that Botany's not a decent perk. They're not exactly trash. Now, a lot of other survivors have perks that are pretty much useless on the surface unless you find some really good way of using them. Empathy, what it does is anytime a survivor's hurt within a certain range from you, you can see them. Now that can be pretty good if you need to know where the killer is, right? Say that a survivor's being chased by the killer and they get hit, but you don't know how close or how far away you are. Say if you're on a gen, for example, Empathy can help you out because you'll be able to tell whether or not they're right next to you or if they're on the other side of the map. Botany is really good. I spoke on this earlier. I sometimes use Botany, usually do. It allows you to heal others faster, and if you have self-care, it allows you to heal yourself faster, and also the efficiency of healing items are also increased by a percentage depending on what level you have the perk at. And then finally self-care, which allows you to heal yourself. So all of her perks are bangers. I would highly recommend. And one other thing that I would recommend if you're just trying to level up quickly is play as David. The reason why I would recommend David if you're trying to level up quickly is because of We're Gonna Live Forever. Now with what this perk does is every time that you take a hit to protect a survivor or rescue them off the hook, you get a token, and every token you get gives you a 25% bonus to every blood point category. So not just your altruism, but we're talking your objectives, your boldness, your altruism, and your survival. You get an extra 25% blood points each time you gain a token. So if you unhook someone and then take a hit for them, you're already at 50%. Now, once you get this to We're Gonna Live Forever 3, you can get up to 4 tokens for a total of double blood points. And all you have to do to get the double blood points is unhook a survivor, take a hit for them, and then unhook another survivor and take a hit for them. And then that's all you have to do. You use this in conjunction with borrowed time, and you're gonna get so much blood points, and that's gonna help you out. Make this perk teachable, and then any survivor whose perks you're trying to learn, for example, if I'm playing Kate, I should try to get that perk as soon as possible because I have it teachable already. As you can see, indicated by the little check here, it's acquired as teachable. So once I get this perk on Kate, I'm definitely going to be using it, and it's going to help me level her up so much faster than I usually would. And you can also stack this with party streamers or escape cakes, and get a shit ton of blood points so that way you can level up. But yeah guys, if you're trying to level up quickly, definitely pick up that perk from David, and I would personally recommend playing as Claudette to get the mechanics of the game down as far as survivors go. So yeah, let's get straight into the video. Alright guys, here we are at the District of Misery, Ironworks Misery. I really didn't get the chance to see it. For some reason it kind of lagged out. But we all 4 spawned together right next to the basement. David's going to go straight down to the chest because he knows that he needs an item because he didn't come in with one. Or wait, no, David came in with a toolbox. So, not quite sure what he's doing down there. The killer burned an offering to make there be 2 less chests here. So there goes small game. It's a huntress. Now the first thing you need to do in a game is figure out who the killer is, and then try to find a generator as fast as possible. Now, this Dwight is literally just sprinting to give scratch marks, if I'm not mistaken. The huntress is over there, so I'm gonna go ahead and move this way. I think he wants to be chased. Now, I sprinted there because I felt confident enough that the huntress wouldn't see me. There was a Dwight between me and her, and she seemed to be across the log pile from me. She doesn't have Hex Ruin, so that's a good sign. Or at least if she does, I'm not being affected by it. The totem that I saw back there wasn't a Hex totem, it was a dull, so I'm just going to leave it for now. I'm not too concerned with it. Totems are kind of trivial, in essence. If you can find them, that's good. It's actually a really good thing in case they have no-ed to go ahead and cleanse all 5 totems, but it's not necessary completely. Now, hex totems are essential to find. You need to find those if they exist. But usually you want to prioritize generators first. And as we can see in the bottom left of our screen, there's a chase going on right now, so I'm safe to go ahead and keep working on this gen. And I see over there in the corner, it's the Dwight that's hurt, and I couldn't even tell if she was actually chasing him anymore. Okay, so there she goes now. She might come this direction to look for him. No, she found him inside the building. It's really important to keep track of all of these things. And that person just DC'd, so that's not good for us. That really hinders us. So now there's only 3 of us to survive against the killer, just because he was a sore loser, basically. But it's okay. I have 1 generator done. I'd like to do more things to get points. There's the Huntress there. I'll go ahead and see. Okay, I didn't even need to read Aura. I could see her over there. This generator's almost done. I'm gonna go ahead and sprint. Again, I'm far enough away. You don't want to be one of those survivors who just sprints everywhere. It's not good. You're gonna get caught that way. You're gonna cuck your teammates that way. You're gonna leave scratch marks everywhere, and it's really easy for the killer to see the scratch marks even from far away. A lot of survivors must think, I believe sometimes, that you have to be close to them to see their scratch marks. You could be damn near across the map and see the red and orange just going all over the place if you pay close enough attention. I just lagged a little bit there. That's fine. Just lagged a little bit more. That's fine. So that person has gone down right there. I'm going to go ahead and rush over to this gen. And so is this Claudette. We're going to start working on this. Now, if she comes here, then I'm either going to have to get into a chase or just try to be as evasive as possible. Another thing that survivors do way too much that really screws you over in the end is just because you hear the terror radius or just because the killer is right there does not mean that they see you. Don't start running until you know that they see you. Because there's so much opportunity that you have. You can avoid and escape the killer before you even get into a chase if you know what you're doing and you play to your environment well enough. Okay, so now that the generator is popped, now I can go ahead and make my way over to this person on the hook and try to get the save. Again, there's a totem here. The killer is soft camping the survivor right now. And here's the hatch. And she's going to go ahead and kill herself. That's fine. I was going to come and save her. I'm just going to hide here. Now you see, if I would have started running there, I would have started to chase. I didn't need to run. The Huntress didn't even see me. I was literally just talking about that, and I was able to shortly later show it off. The more you think of it as like a hide and seek game with purpose, the better you'll do. No, I don't know where she is right now. I hear Claudette on a generator. I'm gonna go ahead and cleanse this totem and see if she lets me. The Claudette is being chased. Now, I saw the hatch back there. I'm just gonna remember where the hatch was. Now, at this point, I think I'm gonna try to... Here, let me try to mind channel. Okay, so the killer's moving that direction. So I'm pretty much safe to go ahead, run over here and try to finish this gen. Here she comes again. Now at this point, I might just be doomed to chase. Wow. To be honest, that whole don't run until you know the killer sees you thing, that might be the best tip I've ever given in my entire life on any video game. Because that was absolutely hilarious. Okay, now that time I know she saw me. The Killer Shack is a really safe place to be as a survivor. Now I should give the Claudette enough time, more than enough time, to get that generator done over there. Oh, I couldn't 360 her, unfortunately, but it's okay. I messed up there, that's fine. I have Dead Hard. And there that is, that's what Dead Hard does. Get the pallet stun on her. If she breaks it, then... Ooh. I didn't expect that, didn't see that coming. But that's all fine. The Claudette has options here. She can get the exit doors open and then try to come save me. She can just go ahead and leave through them. She can find the hatch. At this point, I'm pretty sure I've already pipped. I survived long enough. I out-survived 2 survivors. It looks like I'm getting face camped here, to be honest with you. So I might just accept that fate. Let's see what the Claudette is doing. Looks like she's looking for hatch. That's fine. Now what I could do is kill myself so that way I could let her escape through hatch. But I don't need to do that. I don't know if she's even found it yet. It's not really worth it for her to come to me. She's crouching. I'm gonna go ahead and try to 4% off the hook. Couldn't do it. Let's see if the Claudette's coming for me. She just got the no-ed. That's really good. So that gives her a lot of points. Just for finding that hex totem. And it looks like she's going back somewhere. She might be about to leave. Looks like she's waiting at the hatch, so I'm pretty much good to go ahead and let myself die here. That's what I'm gonna do. The Huntress is just wasting her time here with me. I'll go ahead and kill myself, because what would have happened is she would have waited until my health got to about 5% left, and she would have gone to look for the Claudette. But what was good for me is, like, right at the time that I let myself go, she went to go check a locker, which wasted even more of her time. Now the Claudette should be able to get out. Let's see if she does. Let me see how many points I got first. So I didn't manage to do anything in altruism, unfortunately, and I didn't get a lot of survival points because I didn't make it out alive. But I still almost pipped, just 2 notches away. Lost my key, of course. That's fine. Leveled up. That's fine. And the Claudette did make it out. So this is all good, you know. Like I said, you don't need to survive every game. I got a lot of objective points. If I would have gotten 1 unhook, if I would have made 1 hook rescue, had the other 2 people, let's see, the one guy disconnected as soon as he got caught. He didn't even let her pick him up. And then the other dude, he killed himself immediately. Had those 2 not done that, me and the Claudette, and probably all 4 of us, to be honest with you, we would have all made it out alive. The killer didn't know really much what she was doing. I was able to evade her quite a few times, doing things right under her nose. You know, I would have been able to easily get a couple of hook rescues in and max out on altruism, and I would have pipped. But unfortunately, I had a really bad group of survivors with me, except for the Claudette. So I mean, you know, that's just That's just what happens sometimes. Survivors are the cancer in this game, basically. Be it for the killers, like why are the killers too weak? It's just because some survivors are really good and they play with 3 other survivors who are also all 3 really good, and they just bully you because at that point there's no power roll anymore. Or you get survivors that are like this, that are just really bad, and they end up screwing you over, a fellow survivor. But as you can see, me and this Claudette made more points than the killer did, and these two, it was their own fault that they did so bad, and frankly it's their fault that me and this Claudette did as bad as we did too, because me and this Claudette didn't get our chances to do a lot. Had the Claudette came to save me, she would have went down, we would have all 4 died. The killer would have got a lot of points for that, just because of these 2 goofballs' mistakes. But I was the only one who really had to pay for it. I still safetied, at least. I still came out with a decent amount of blood points for Survivor. They really, at the end of the day, only screwed themselves. So, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment letting me know what your favorite part of this video is, and if any of my tips helped you out at all. And that's all I've got for today, guys. So, thank you all for watching. Stay calm and don't sleep. Peace out.